Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Shem Yahshua, double honors to the Apostle GMS. Shalom to the elect. My name is Amnawala, coming at you with another show. And without further ado, let me get right into it. Psalms chapter 23, verse 1. Yahweh B'Hashem Yahshua is my shepherd. I shall not want, meaning I shall not lack. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures, which green pastures represent the knowledge and the kingdom as well. Because the kingdom begins with the knowledge. And basically what the show is going to be about is what is the shadow of death. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. See, name is important. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod and the staff are some other scriptures. Matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Prove that. That's Romans. That real quick. Give me 1 second. That's Romans 15th chapter. You can get that to prove it. Romans 15. It says Romans chapter 15 verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So you know that rod and that staff gotta be talking about the scriptures. Because it said the rod and the staff they comfort him. They comfort me. And whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope. So that's talking about the scriptures. So continuing on, we're reading that again. It says, Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. What's the valley of the shadow of death? First of all, a valley is a low land. A valley also represents to be low morally, which America is a low land morally. So America is like a valley. How is it low morally? It defies the scriptures. Same woman over men, same woman equal to men. Homosexuality. No man is a wickedness. Making pork a delicacy, which according to, I believe, according to Leviticus 11 chapter, swine is an abomination in the eyes of the Lord. Let's go to Psalm 107 and 10. Such as sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, being bound in affliction and iron, because they rebelled against the words of the Most High and contemned the counsel of the Most High. So the ones that sat in darkness and in the shadow of death were bound in affliction and iron because they rebelled against the words of the Most High. Deuteronomy 28:15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe to do all his commandments, and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee, right? Because they was going to rebel. Because they rebelled against the words of the Most High. See? That's why the Lord said, what? If you're not going to hearken to his voice to observe to do all his commandments, that's you rebelling. Okay? And it said, that's us rebelling, children of Israel, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. And it says, verse 10, such as sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, being bound in affliction and iron. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 23. Being bound in affliction, right? Let me go to verse 29 first. Deuteronomy 28 and 29. It says, and thou shalt grope in the noonday as the blind gropeth in darkness. In other words, a blind person gropes in the darkness because why? You can't see in the dark. So you grope for the wall. You're groping around for a wall or for something to touch so that you can find your way through the darkness. But you're going to grope in noonday as a blind person gropes in the darkness. Why should you grope in the noonday? You can see when the noon is out because it's not when the sun is out at noon, because it's not talking about an actual physical darkness that you're going to be groping around in. It's talking about a spiritual darkness. Because you shouldn't have to grope in the noonday as you grope in darkness because you can see at noon. So it's talking about your spiritual eyes is going to be locked. In other words, you're going to be blinded spiritually. And thou shalt not prosper in thy ways. Nothing you be do going to prosper. And thou shalt be only oppressed and spoiled of it more. And no man shall save thee. We oppressed now. Remember slavery, the conquistadors, the Spaniards, the United States cavalry that took down the North American Indians and the Seminole Indians. Yeah, that's talking about. Being bound in affliction. And it said, an iron. If that's on affliction. Verse 33. The fruit of thy land and thy labor shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be oppressed and crushed always. See that? And they stole all the crops and the riches of the Israelites that was in Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, Cuba, and so on and so forth. And it said being bound in affliction and iron. This is what I wanted to get to. Matter of fact, there's another one up here. Go up. Verse 23, and thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. Okay? The shackles that we had on our feet, you know? And the heaven over us is going to be brass. You know, our crops wasn't going to get. That's why down here it says he's going to make the rain that land like powder and dust. In other words, our crops wasn't going to flourish. But it said, under thee shall be iron. Talking about what? The shackles we had on our feet. Okay? Going down. Verse 48. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemy which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst, and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. The yoke of iron upon thy neck is talking about what? The yoke of iron that was put upon our necks during slavery. Alright? See the yoke of iron upon their necks. And I believe this man here name was Wilson Chin, if I'm not mistaken. See the chains on his feet, iron on his feet. See iron up here on his neck. That's Deuteronomy 28:48. We just read that. See that? Yoke of iron, heaven above thee being brass, also going into this too. See that? Yoke of iron around their neck. See that? This is what they put on around our ankles, around our feet. Okay? And somebody even got this up here. Deuteronomy 28:40, the scripture we just read. That's the yoke of iron upon our neck. Okay? And this really goes into all the tribes, Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Ephraim, Simeon, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, and so forth. But that primarily fits the tribe of Judah, which Judah is a so-called American Negro. So with that, I'm going to close. Hope you brothers learned something. Shalom.